you so much for joining me again for another video. Please feel free to like this video and remember to subscribe to the channel if you are not already subscribed. When you subscribe, be sure to hit that notification bell so that you will be notified the next time I go live. So let's get right into it. So let's discuss this Manosphere meetup. I actually think this was the most precisely orchestrated coup in all of history. I mean, in the history of the world. What actually happened with this Manosphere meetup was that there has been a takeover of that particular space by the incel community. I just have to call it what it is. Now, if that community had any sane, normal, regular, emotionally available and sound men in that community, the Manosphere meetup was the time and place where they ousted those guys with common sense and logic and replaced the governing board with incel members. Okay, now if you're not familiar with the term incel, it derives from the longer term involuntarily celibate. All right, these are a group of men that are involuntarily celibate. They are socially awkward, they don't have much success with women, and they usually are involuntarily celibate. They don't get women. And in turn, they usually are really upset with women. They have an anger, a fury, a wrath directed towards women because they feel that women get to make choices in terms of who they are intimate with. They feel that women get the easier way through life. Women get what they want. Women are able to choose. I think I said that, choose who they have sex with and all of these types of things. And it has really infuriated those involuntarily celibate men. They are upset that they don't get the same privileges that they believe are afforded to women, and in turn formed a community to kind of speak out against women, and what I believe has turned into a fostering of hate for women. So with this Manosphere meetup was orchestrated by it was primarily organized by a guy that is relatively new to the Black Manosphere, Negro Manosphere community. He's been there less than a year from what I can remember. And he created this Manosphere meetup and actually got support from the top brass of the Negro or Black Manosphere. And we'll go into it just a little bit. I'll start with the video by Oshay Duke Jackson, who is the primary founder of the community, and I'll let him kind of describe the brotherhood that he shares with Obsidian and Kevin Samuels. Take a listen.
Today I want to teach a little bit of a lesson about the situation of black men working together, okay? And how a group of brothers who 3-4 years ago didn't have so much now have a lot in this space called the Black Manosphere. And I'm talking about three guys in particular, Kevin, myself, and Obsidian Media Network. Now, Obsidian is the guy who I would credit with the brainchild of this space. And when you talk about two of the three fathers of the Black Manosphere, you're talking about me and him, all right? We've probably done the most as far as the infrastructure that's outside of the Black Manosphere and what's inside of it. As far as, bringing in guys, helping guys. Obsidian has been consistent. He's been shut down a few times. He's been consistent in his writing, and he's written for me on the negromanosphere.com. And last year, he told me that he was going to write a book. And I told him, I said, in order for you to have a specialization, you need to have a book. So he said, you know what? I'm going to have a book. He wrote a really good book called The Book of Obsidian. I haven't yet to read it, right? But at the same time, as Kevin Samuels was coming in through the space, getting known, figuring out what he needed to do to blow up, which he did, we all three have maintained a really good relationship. Now, don't get me wrong, I've cussed Kevin Samuels out before, offline. He'll tell you. Earlier on in 2018, 2019, 2017, all the time. Obsidian, also. We haven't always gotten along. Most of it has been behind the scenes, all right? But what we've always been able to do is stay friends, figure out how to get better in the business. Even when the guys in the other parts of the Manosphere were way ahead of us, we stuck together as a team, as a unit. We've always stuck together.
So now you hear Oshay talk about the friendship that he formed with two other men that he considers to be the founders of the Black Manosphere. And we will get into, let's take a second and talk about Obsidian. Okay, Obsidian is one of the primary founders of the space. He is kind of the thought maker, the taste maker. He is the PR person from what I observed. He kind of explains the direction of the space and gets the community on board with the direction that the top brass intends to go in. Obsidian has found himself in the hot seat many times, and he has been able to answer those questions, the questions posed by the followers of the guys in the Manosphere, the followers of the top brass in the Manosphere, and encourage the guys to kind of stay on board with the idea of this Manosphere. So we'll see here that at last week, and I think it was last weekend, there was a Manosphere meetup held. Now, this is kind of the first of its kind. Well, not really. From my understanding, they had meetups back in the day with a guy named C Boogie, and other people had some events that kind of encourage widespread participation from the space. But this is one of the first meetups that they've had with this new iteration of the Manosphere. And I don't know if this is still 2.0 or now 3.0 or whatever it is, but this is kind of something that this was a unique event. It was a unique event. So you'll see in this next clip that Obsidian is with a guy named Little Big Nate, the guy that organized this Manosphere meetup. From my understanding, it was his brainchild, and he kind of got everybody else on board. Little Big Nate just one day started talking about the guys meeting up. At this time, Little Big Nate was still relatively new to the space. I don't even think that his channel was 6 months old when he began advocating for this Manosphere meetup. And I guess through continuous conversation about the event, the guys got on board, and we see that one of the kingmakers, the top brass members, Obsidian, aligned himself with Little Big Nate and allowed this Manosphere meetup to happen with his support. Now, Obsidian is a part of the top brass. He's part of the three founders of the space. The other two would be Kevin Samuels and Oshay Duke Jackson. And with Obsidian being there, it validated the event and made it a legitimately Manosphere event. Okay, he legitimized this event. Now, let's take a little second to view their PR clip or something like that, where they introduced everybody that would, in my opinion, be the new leaders and tastemakers. And of the space. These are the new guys that will set the culture for the Manosphere.
We're joining you from the Weston 2021 Manosphere Meetup, and we're in the presidential suite at the Weston. The presidential suite at the Weston. And the gentleman that occupies this room is well known to the Manosphere. He's considered one of the founders. And the gentleman that occupies this room is none other than Mumia Obsidian Ali.
All right, once, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we see that we have Obsidian here, which is a part of the top brass in the space. We have Minister Jap, which is a really popular member of the space, as well as Bernard Riley, which I consider to be more of a newer decision maker, but he does have a really popular space that Obsidian frequents a lot. And then we have Little Big Nate, who is he is so new. I mean, I don't even think he's a year old in the space. They're running this interview. Let's take a second to listen to Little Big Nate and get to know him a bit.
So no. I need you to prove that premise. How is Obsidian? How am I a failed man? And how is Kevin Samuels a failed man? I'm not gonna let you get away with saying stupid shit.
Easy.
I'm not gonna. No. Explain how we're failed men. That's what I need you to do.
Now watch this. What happened to your family? You're divorced, right?
No. I filed for divorce and got custody of my children, dumb nigga.
Okay, so that was divorce.
Stupid nigga. That's what I did. Stupid nigga. With your channel that only 100 people come visit anytime you produce content. You stupid nigga.
Kevin Samuels is 2 times divorced, man, right? And Obsidian.
So what? Marriage is guaranteed? You dumb nigga. Marriage is guaranteed, you stupid nigga.
I know, but guess what?
You're a failure. Look at your channel. You're a failure. You got 23,000 subscribers. You barely get 100 views. You're a failure. You're a failure. How about that? You're a failure. How about that, son?
Why you screaming?
How about that? You're the one calling Ben failure. You started the shit. You started it, you fucking effeminate. You effeminate, troublemaking nigga. You started it. You started it, you bitch.
Now you know.
You started it, you bitch. I fight fire with fire, nigga. You come up here calling me a failure. I'ma check your bitch ass. You loser nigga. You loser, dreaded, scrub ass nigga. Fuck you. Fuck you, nigga. Come on, bro. How about that? Your channel is that of a loser. Your channel is a loser's channel. Your channel is a loser's channel. Your channel is a loser's channel, nigga.
Talking down on black.
You fucking clown. You come up here insulting men who haven't done anything to you. You come up here insulting men that haven't done anything to you. You're a loser and you're an effeminate.
Excuse me,
Either
gentlemen.
the loser leaves or I leave. It's up to you, Mahogany.
I don't
It's
want
up to you, Mahogany.
This is your show. Everybody be quiet for a second, please. Be quiet. Everybody be quiet for a second.
Let some fucking clown call me a loser? I'll cut your throat.
You guys
I'll cut your throat. You stupid loser nigga. I'll cut your fucking
just
throat.
give me for a second. I'm gonna drop people just for a second. You two, I just want these two gentlemen to talk just for 1 second. So we all knew this was gonna happen. Right? We knew that our views were going to be different.
No. Nobody insulted anybody until he came up here. And called he called me a loser. You don't get to insult me, you effeminate. I'm gonna cut your throat. I'm gonna cut your throat, nigga. I'll cut your throat with my words, nigga. I'm gonna cut your throat with my words, you loser. Go back to your empty channel, you loser.
Listen for a second.
Whoa, hold up. Point of order.
You're a loser, nigga.
Okay,
You're
can everybody be quiet for
Point
1
of
second?
order.
Now, yes, I know that was a lot to listen to, but that's the reality of Little Big Nate. He goes from 0 to 1 billion in 3 seconds. Wherever he goes, this is how he comports himself. Now, he was actually on a panel with about 2 or 3 other women and maybe 2 or 3 other guys during that exchange. And this is normal for Big Nate. For Little Big Nate. Everyone in the community knows and can expect Big Nate, Little Big Nate, to respond in that way. He speaks very violently, with very violently charged words. And to be honest, the things that he says are quite shocking, but they're no surprise. Everyone in the space knows this about Little Big Nate, and everyone in the space allows him to do so without repercussion or without any type of consequence. So much so that he was able to create this Manosphere Meetup and have it legitimized by a member of the top brass of the Manosphere administration. So shocking. But let's take a second and listen to another panel that Little Big Nate was on just either a few days before or a few days after that last recording.
You're a chubby, stupid sissy.
Okay, if you want to think that, you could think that, nigga. You can hire.
That's what you are, boy.
I come to Atlanta and come kick your ass.
Nigga, December 3rd and 4th.
Are you gonna put
December 3rd, nigga, I'm putting together the Manosphere Meetup. I'm putting together the Manosphere Meetup. You're not invited, sissy nigga. But I'll see you on 285. I'll see you on 285, boy.
You a bitch. You a little bitch.
Nigga, make sure you're in Atlanta. If you're not, I'm gonna clown you on my channel. If you're not in Atlanta, I'm gonna clown you, nigga.
Sit your stupid ass.
I'm gonna clown you, nigga.
You basically talking about one fucking statistic. That's all you got. Nigga, 10.
Here we have Little Big Nate going against another guy. I don't know if this guy considers himself to be a part of the Manosphere, but they were debating the rates of abortion in the Black community, the number of abortions that Black women have had, I'm guessing since the 60s or something like that. But yeah, there's more. Let's take a listen to the rest of, or a little bit more of what Little Big Nate said during that exchange.
Research, tell me all the names you see,
but you
don't know how to deal.
I don't think he can do the division.
You don't know how to deal with numbers.
He can't do the division, y'all.
Calm down, brother.
He can't do the division.
Gain some self-control.
Do the division.
Deal with the numbers.
Do the division.
All of those numbers
divide 22 million by 46 years.
Those numbers are not
Google says there's been 20 million Black abortions.
You can preach and
Google says there's been 20 million Black abortions.
Brother, you can preach and yell all you want.
You are a joke. You should have left the Manosphere and you should have stayed away. You're a joke.
Stick to the topic, brother.
You're a joke.
Stick to the topic.
I'm on
Stick to the topic. You don't know the topic.
Do the division.
So we see here that Little Big Nate is very upset about the numbers of abortion in the Black community, the number of abortions that Black women have had in the community. We see that he has invited the YouTuber that he's speaking to is named D. Darrell. He's invited D. Darrell to Atlanta so that they could have a fight, I guess, at the Manosphere Meetup, and even went forward to continue to dispute the number of abortions that Black women have had since whatever date that was. Little Big Nate takes the abortion rates in our community very seriously and very personally, because he says that his ex-wife intended to abort their child. And since she intended to abort their child, he is very upset with Black women for choosing abortion and the rates at which Black women have had that procedure performed in our community. But Little Big Nate isn't the only guy in the Manosphere community, even the top brass, that is really upset with Black women in particular. We did have Obsidian there at that meetup, and like I said, Obsidian legitimized that meetup into a full-fledged Manosphere approved event. And just take a listen at a little bit of what Obsidian had to say regarding Black women just a few months ago.
Swirling is dead. You have no white female friends. We're the only thing you got. And if you're going to play with us, you're going to get down or you're going to lay down. That's how this is going to work. Oh, and we got to whip you a little bit too. Anytime a sister get out of line in your house, dude, you can let her back in, but she got to get whipped a little bit. I recommend that men buy very good, high quality leather belts. And when she get out of line, you give her the strap on her behind.
Here you have a leader of the Manosphere space saying that women, needed to be whipped with a belt if they get out of line, and that that Black women, if we were going to play with Black men, I guess that means to engage with them or be with them or interact with them, then we either quote unquote get down or lay down. And in the hood, okay, the little hood colloquialisms, the get down means that you get with the program, you accept things for what they are, and you comply, you submit to the direction of the Black men that he was speaking of. But the lay down piece of that statement implies something far more permanent. It is a laying down that you are not going to get up from. It is an ending. It is a violent demise to the woman. Either you are going to get down, comply and submit, or you are going to lay down, is what Obsidian said. Now we know that here in 2021, Black Femicide US, you can follow them on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, any social media, has been compiling the rates of murder in the community, the Black community, the number, the degree to which Black women have been murdered in our community just over this year alone. They've done work prior to this year, but they have been compiling the numbers of this year, 2021, and we are already at 1,200 murders or more this year alone. Not all committed by Black men, but about 80% of those murders have been committed by Black men. So when we hear this type of violent rhetoric being spewed and targeted, sent towards specifically Black women, it is cause for concern. But let's not stop there with Obsidian. We also have Kevin Samuels earlier this year advocating for slapping women. Let's take a second to listen to that.
Don't fear what Sean Connery told Barbara Walters. There are times when the best course of action is to slap a woman. That's what Sean Connery said. It's still on YouTube right now. Go look at it. And Barbara Walters was like, thought he was going to recant his statement, and he doubled down. He said, let me explain what I mean. He's like, women have a way of not knowing how to let things go. You can give up the argument. You can let it go. They can know they've won. There's nothing else to be gained, and they will continue to push and push and push. And he said, at that point, once you've exhausted all other options, then a slap becomes a good option. And you only have to do it once. Shahrazad Ali tried to say that stuff and it set the black community on fire. Why is this? Because between the men on this platform right now, if we were in public, we have to moderate what we say, whether we know each other or not, because there's a low-level threat of violence and aggression between all men. Fuck YouTube, fuck degrees, fuck money. You cross a certain line with a man, we're going to have to shoot the fair one. We know that. You can be in a wheelchair, you can be on a crutch, whatever. You can be special. You got to do that. But see, there's no low-level threat of violence between women and men. Respectful beyond the point of reason, because there's no consequence, because they don't fear the repercussion.
It's clear that whatever the Black Manosphere stood for in the past is no more now. The coup, orchestrated by Little Big Nate and validated by Obsidian, shows that the underlying tone of the community is violence and hate against women, specifically Black women. It is concerning. It is something that attention needs to be brought to, and something that we need to discuss within the community. Now, I've never heard Oshay say any of these grossly negligent or make any of these grossly negligent statements that I've heard Obsidian make, Little Big Nate make, or even Kevin Samuels make. But it's clear that part of the top brass, the decision makers of the Black Manosphere or Negro Manosphere space, all align with those sentiments. There has even been conversation that Obsidian, which is a leader in the space, says that Black women should be found in a pool of her own excrement, or something similar. I don't have that quote, but it is well known in the space that that is something Obsidian has said and doubled down on. So I just want to bring light to the coup of the Manosphere space that happened last week and put everyone on notice that there is a new direction in the space, and it's something like Obsidian said, you're either going to get down or lay down. All right, either you agree with their violent rhetoric towards men and women, or you don't. And if you don't, then I don't see how you can be or remain aligned with that space. Now, we know that some YouTubers are leaving the space, and the space is clearly being taken over by incels. I mean, can anyone in their right mind say that Obsidian is not an incel? Can we say that Obsidian is not an incel? I don't think anybody can truly say that. Okay, so it's clear that the space is now under new leadership. Little Big Nate has created a new hierarchy within the space, and we'll have to see where it goes. Now, most of us are aware of the very heinous crime that took place regarding a man removing his ex-wife as well as his ex-girlfriend, and then finally himself. Look at the thumbnail Little Big Nate has created to discuss the story later on tonight, and tell me that we don't have a big problem on our hands. You can see a lady lying there. You can see a pregnant woman lying there. You can see the children that he brought to the scene in the car lying there. You can see the image of the man himself with a tool there to his head. Tell me that this image is not disturbing. Now, I have no idea why men who belong to the red pill community are even in the dating market. But it's time that we really take time as a community to discuss this thing that's going on and bring some resolve to it. Thank you so much for taking time to listen to my views on this topic. And feel free to like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell if you do subscribe to the channel, and I will see you again. Bye.